Negative thinking does not always arrive with a warning. Sometimes it begins quietly, with one small worry in the morning. You remember yesterday's mistake. Think about tomorrow's problems. Compare your life with someone else's, and suddenly your mind feels tired before the day has even begun. The difficult part is that negative thinking can become so familiar that you stop noticing it. You may believe you are simply being realistic or preparing for the future, but there is a difference between preparing for a problem and repeatedly imagining everything that could go wrong. One helps you act, the other steals your peace. Imagine receiving a message from someone you care about saying, "We need to talk." Before knowing what it means, your mind may create an entire story. Maybe something is wrong. Maybe they are angry. Maybe something terrible has happened. Within minutes, you can feel anxious about a situation that does not even exist yet. The same thing happens with the past. You may remember an embarrassing moment from years ago and suddenly feel the same discomfort again. But that moment has already ended. You cannot change the words you said or the decision you made. Yet the mind can replay the memory as if repeating it could create a different ending. This is important to understand. Thinking is not always the same as solving. Sometimes you are not solving a problem, you are simply revisiting it. You are not preparing for the future, you are imagining negative possibilities, and you are not learning from the past. You are punishing yourself for something you can no longer change. Clarity begins when you recognize this difference. The next time you catch yourself thinking negatively, do not fight the thought. Pause and observe it. Ask yourself, is this a fact or is this a fear? That simple question can create distance between you and the thought. For example, I made a mistake may be a fact, but I always make mistakes and I will never succeed is a story your mind has created. Someone criticized my work may be true, but everyone thinks I am incapable is an assumption. When you separate facts from assumptions, your mind becomes calmer and your decisions become clearer. You do not need to eliminate every negative thought from your life. A clear mind is not a mind that never experiences fear, doubt, or worry. It is a mind that does not automatically believe everything it thinks. Your thoughts are visitors. Some are useful, some unnecessary, and some simply pass through because you are tired or stressed. So begin today by noticing your thoughts before you obey them. When your mind predicts the worst, pause. When it brings back an old mistake, pause. When it tells you that you are not good enough, pause. You are not your thoughts, and you do not have to follow every thought that enters your mind. The moment you stop treating every thought as truth, you regain the freedom to choose how you think, respond, and live. Negative thinking becomes powerful when you give it your attention again. A negative thought may appear briefly, but when you keep returning to it, the thought becomes stronger. Your mind begins to treat it as important when you repeat it. This is why you need to be careful about the questions you ask yourself. If you ask, "Why does everything go wrong for me?" your mind will search for evidence that everything is going wrong. But if you ask, "What can I control right now?" your attention moves toward action. Your questions shape the direction of your thoughts. Consider a person worried about money. They may spend hours thinking, "What if I cannot manage my expenses? What if something unexpected happens?" These questions create fear, not solutions. A clearer approach is to ask, "What can I improve? What step can I take today?" The situation may not change immediately, but your mind becomes more useful. The same principle applies to relationships. You cannot control what another person thinks, feels, or chooses. Yet negative thinking often tries to control these things through endless analysis. You replay conversations and search for hidden meanings. Eventually, you become exhausted searching for certainty where none may exist. Sometimes clarity means accepting that you do not have all the answers. Not every silence means rejection. Not every delay means failure. Not every change means something bad is coming. Life contains uncertainty, and trying to remove it creates anxiety. You can accept uncertainty without letting it control you. Another important habit is learning to stop catastrophizing. When something goes wrong, the mind may jump to the worst outcome. A missed opportunity becomes, "I will never get another chance." One mistake becomes, "I always fail." One difficult day becomes, "My whole life is falling apart." The problem may be real, but the conclusion may be larger than the facts. When you catch yourself making these mental jumps, return your attention to what is actually happening. Ask, "What do I know for certain?" Then ask, "What am I assuming?" This prevents emotions from turning possibilities into facts. You may discover that the situation is difficult but not hopeless. You should also give your mind moments of quiet. Constant information and comparison can keep the brain overstimulated. Without quiet, even small worries can feel enormous. A few minutes of silence, a slow walk, deep breathing, or sitting without your phone can give your mind room to settle. Remember, clarity is not about having a perfect life. It is about seeing your life as it is, instead of through the filter of fear. You may still have problems and questions, but when you stop adding unnecessary fear to those problems, you create space for better decisions, calmer reactions, and a more peaceful life. One of the biggest steps toward clarity is learning to control what deserves your attention. You may think about someone's opinion, an old mistake, the future, or a situation outside your control. The more attention you give these things, the less energy remains for the life you can influence. Separate your problems into two groups: what you can control and what you cannot. You can control your actions, choices, effort, habits, and the way you respond. You cannot control another person's behavior, the past, unexpected events, or every outcome. Clarity begins when you stop fighting battles that were never yours to control. Think about how much mental energy people waste worrying about what others think. But people will have opinions whether you succeed or fail. If you spend your life trying to satisfy everyone, you may lose touch with what you actually want. Peace becomes easier when you accept that not everyone needs to approve of you. Another source of negative thinking is constant comparison. You look at someone else's career, money, relationships, or achievements and decide that your own life is behind. But you are comparing your complete life with a small part of someone else's. Comparison can create dissatisfaction where gratitude could have existed. Instead of asking, "Why am I not where they are?" ask, "Am I moving in the right direction?" Someone may achieve something earlier than you, while you may achieve something they never will. Life is not a race. Your responsibility is to keep improving your own path. You also need to become comfortable with making decisions without complete certainty. Negative thinking often demands a guarantee before taking action. Sometimes you must make the best decision you can with the information available and adjust as you learn more. When you make a mistake, resist turning one event into a judgment about your identity. You are not a failure because something failed. You are not weak because you had a difficult day. A mistake is information. A clearer mind also learns to slow down before reacting. When emotions are strong, the first thought is not always the best thought. Give yourself space, take a breath, step away, and return when your mind is calmer. A short pause can prevent regret. Living with clarity does not mean removing every problem from your life. It means removing unnecessary mental noise. Focus on what you can control. Release what you cannot. Stop comparing your journey. Accept uncertainty. Learn from mistakes. and pause before reacting. Slowly, your mind becomes quieter, your choices become wiser, and life becomes more peaceful. A peaceful life does not come from having fewer problems. It comes from learning how to respond without allowing problems to take over your mind. Two people can face the same difficult situation, yet one remains calm, while the other becomes overwhelmed. The difference is often the meaning they give to it. One powerful way to reduce negative thinking is to stop living too far ahead in your mind. You may spend hours imagining conversations that have not happened, problems that may never happen, or failures that exist only in your imagination. The future deserves preparation, but it does not deserve all of your present attention. Bring yourself back to the present moment. Look at what is actually in front of you. If you are speaking with someone, listen instead of preparing your next response. Your mind becomes clearer when you stop dividing your attention between the present and imaginary situations. Another important step is learning to speak to yourself with patience. Many people would never talk to a friend the way they talk to themselves. They make one mistake and say, "I am useless." They face one setback and think, "I will never succeed." Replace harsh judgment with honest encouragement. Instead of saying, "I ruined everything," say, "I made a mistake and I can learn from it." Instead of saying, "I cannot handle this," say, "This is difficult, but I can take it one step at a time." Repeated thoughts shape the way you see yourself. You should also learn to let some things remain unfinished. Not every problem needs to be solved today. Not every question needs an immediate answer. Not every disagreement needs to be settled before you sleep. Sometimes the healthiest decision is to say, "I will deal with this when I have the time and energy." This is especially important at night. When the world becomes quiet, the mind may become loud. Old memories, future worries, and unfinished tasks can appear one after another. Instead of following every thought, write down what needs your attention tomorrow and allow yourself to rest. Clarity also requires choosing what you allow into your mental environment. If you constantly consume negativity, arguments, gossip, fear, and comparison, your mind will naturally become heavier. You do not have to disconnect from the world, but you can become selective. Protecting your attention is self-respect. Remember that you do not need to change your entire life in one day. Start with one thought, one reaction, and one decision at a time. Pause before reacting. Question negative assumptions. Focus on what is real. Speak to yourself with patience. With these small changes, negative thinking slowly loses its control, and clarity becomes a more natural way of living. Clarity becomes stronger when you stop trying to control everything around you. Life will always contain situations you cannot predict, people you cannot change, and outcomes you cannot guarantee. The goal is not to control life completely, but to control how you meet it. One of the most useful habits is learning to accept what has already happened. Acceptance does not mean that you approve of something painful. It simply means you stop fighting reality. When you accept that the past cannot be changed, your energy becomes available for what you can still do. The same idea applies to people. You may wish someone would understand you, apologize, change, or behave differently. But you cannot force another person to become the person you want them to be. You can communicate clearly, set boundaries, and choose your response. After that, you must allow their choices to belong to them. Another way to create clarity is to simplify your daily life. Too many commitments, unnecessary arguments, constant notifications, and endless information can leave your mind crowded. You do not need to respond to everything. Sometimes peace comes from deciding what is important and allowing the rest to remain outside your attention. Start giving more attention to what is working. Negative thinking naturally looks for problems, so deliberately notice the things that are going well. A peaceful morning, a useful conversation, a completed task, or time with someone you love may seem small. But these moments remind your mind that life is not made only of difficulties. Gratitude can help you change your mental direction. This does not mean pretending that everything is perfect. It means refusing to let problems become the only things you see. You can be worried about something and still appreciate what is good in your life. Both realities can exist at the same time. You should also remember that progress is rarely dramatic. A calmer reaction today may seem insignificant, but repeated calm reactions become a habit. One less hour of worrying, one healthier decision, or one moment of choosing peace over an argument can gradually change the way you live. When negative thoughts return, do not feel that you have failed. They will return because you are human. The goal is not to create a mind that never becomes negative. The goal is to recognize those thoughts sooner, question them wisely, and choose not to let them lead your behavior. And this is where living with clarity truly begins. You stop chasing certainty, stop carrying yesterday everywhere, and stop borrowing trouble from tomorrow. You focus on what is in front of you, take the next step, and allow life to unfold without fighting every moment. You may not control everything, but you can choose your response. That choice can bring more calm and clarity into your life.